Hello everyone, welcome to So Jannelle. I'm your host Jannelle So, greeting all the moms, all the stepmoms, mother figures, foster moms, all the moms in our lives. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. I hope that today you're treated special, you're treated like the queen that you are. So happy Mother's Day. This afternoon on the show, we are featuring queens. We are featuring moms who are also doing their best at what they do. We're going to give you some information for small business owners, how to navigate this complex system of looking for funding, looking for grants at this time, because there is money out there, there are funds. It's just a matter of getting your hands on it and also how to apply for those. Also on the show today, it's not just Mother's Day. May 6th to May 12th is Nurses Week, so we are giving a tribute to all the nurses out there. Please watch out for that as well. And I know that it's been weeks now with working from home, with children at home, and I know that without school, we are now also teachers of our children. For parents with with children in different grades, I know it's more difficult. I have my 4-year-old Lily and my 1-year-old Leo, and it's still a little bit easy because at this point or at this stage, I know that playing is more essential to their development because that's how they learn, by playing. But I know that with children, or for moms with children who are older, it can get tricky. So we have tips on that for you. Meanwhile, we open the show today with an endocrinologist. She is certified in internal medicine and in private practice for more than 15 years now. She is mom to a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. Dr. Gladys Palomeno talks to us about underlying conditions and how it affects how COVID or coronavirus affects our system. Dr. Palomeno, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Jannelle, for having me. This is great. This is a great platform. It was great.
Let's talk about that. Your thoughts first. As an endocrinologist, I know that we've, in a different show, I've spoken to you a few times about Filipinos and diabetes, Filipinos and heart condition, and now it's still a problem. A lot of people are saying that the underlying condition makes COVID really strong, potent when it hits a person.
That is correct. In fact, the studies have shown that 91 to 94% of people that die from COVID have an underlying condition. And those underlying conditions, they can be broken down to about 5, 6, or 7 of them. And this is what they are. They are obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, lung disease like asthma, emphysema, COPD, something that you get if you're a smoker, being elderly, being over the age of 65. And surprisingly, the other risk, or half risk, is being male. Males actually have increased risk of death 2 times more than women. So it's interesting.
Your thoughts on that first. This is the first time I'm hearing that more male than female.
First of all, when we look at the chronic illnesses, it would make sense that when you get any kind of infection and you have an underlying illness, you're going to have a depressed immune system. Of course, if you get a lung disease, you're going to have a harder time. Of course, if you have cancer, people that have cancer have a lower immune system. Older people have a lower immune system just because they're older, and they have more illnesses because as they've gotten older, they've accumulated more illnesses. And interestingly, men, we're not really sure yet. That's the verdict is still out as to why that's the case. But interestingly, men have more risks. And we're not sure if it's because men tend to have more risky behavior. They're not as into preventive health. We don't know if it's something more due to lifestyle as opposed to women, or if there's a hormonal issue. They're still trying to figure that out. But that is definitely a risk factor.
Obviously, it's the novel coronavirus, which is new. It's a new virus. We're figuring it out as we go. But I know that hypertension, obesity, diabetes, we've been talking about this all the time, especially with Filipinos. That's the propensity for Filipinos to get those illnesses is very high.
And it's interesting. And I think that it might have something to do with inflammation. One of the reasons why COVID-19 is so deadly is because it causes an increased inflammatory response in the body, almost an exaggerated inflammatory response. The people that really have a problem with it or die from it have an exaggerated inflammatory response once they get the virus. The inflammation in the lungs becomes so severe that that's how they end up passing from it. So I'm wondering if there's these underlying diseases, which we've seen all the time, which also causes all the deaths in general, these people that have diseases have an underlying inflammation. And when you add COVID-19 on top of it, it just makes that inflammatory response worse.
When you say inflammatory as a, using it in medical terms, what does it mean?
For example, let's say you get a scratch on yourself, or you get a scratch on your skin, you see that it gets inflamed, it gets red on the outside, it gets swollen and painful. That's basically what's going on the inside of your body when you have these diseases. If you have obesity, you have a lot of inflammation, or you have like redness and swelling around your organs. Same thing with diabetes, heart disease. So just think of it, when you get a scratch on the outside of your body, when you have these diseases, it's like that on the inside of your body. Right. That's inflammation.
For our viewers, if you have diabetes, or if you are pre-diabetes, then you can there's still hope, right? You can't be too paranoid, don't panic, because you can still control it. So how do we control it, Gladys? What are your top 3?
First thing you gotta do is we have to eat better. We have to eat better. Less carbs, less processed food, more vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, lean meats, fish. Vegetables, we're talking green leafy vegetables that have low carbohydrates. So like when you look at like lettuce and kale and spinach, those have virtually no carbohydrates in it whatsoever.
And then your point number 2.
The second thing is exercise and keeping your weight down. Right. So, obesity is a big factor, but if you exercise, not only going to keep your weight down, but you're going to keep your sugars down, you're going to keep your blood pressure down.
It doesn't have to be so elaborate. You don't even need somebody you don't need to follow a program. You don't need equipment. You don't need, even running, just always moving, walking, it will help, right?
That counts. Any movement will help.
And point number 3.
The other thing is sleeping better. You really should sleep. One thing I have to say about Americans in general, Filipinos also, is we work really hard and we don't sleep. And sleeping, if you don't sleep, you're going to lower your immune system. Right. So, especially a lot of the nurses that are working long shifts. I know that you're working long shifts in the hospital because of this. It's really important to sleep. Take care of yourself.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gladys, for all that information. Always a pleasure.
Okay. All right.
Just reminding everyone that that's not all that we talked to Gladys about. She has a lot of information that she shared also in her extended interview or extended segment, which we will post on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, this show, if you can't watch it, or if you have friends or family who don't subscribe to TFC, we are on YouTube now, and we premiere a weekly show there on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific. So please join us. This is also the time where the guests join us and they want to interact with all of you. And if you guys have specific questions to a doctor, to some of our guests, so that's where you can catch them on YouTube, www.youtube.com/SoJannelle, premiering our shows every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific. We have more for you when we return. Don't go away.
The coronavirus has turned our work lives upside down, forcing practically the entire country into working remotely. While it may work fine for some people, for others, it can be a struggle. Still, it can be so easy to stay focused and productive while working from home. Designate a dedicated space to work from where no one can distract you and you will stay disciplined. Maintain the schedule. It's harder to stay organized when working alone. Write down all of your weekly, daily, and hourly tasks to keep them on track. Change the way you communicate. Besides regular calls and emails, there are plenty of other tools, from Skype to Zoom meetings, or maybe host a once-weekly lunch via video conferencing. Have a colleague or friend outside of work that you can check in with once a day to maintain some sense of normal social interaction. Working from home can be a challenge for some, from being productive to feeling isolated. But if you're organized and communicative, you can make it work.
Great information there from Rod Mercado of Financial Rescue, how to stay productive even while working from home. Now, it's not so easy to be productive while working from home, especially when you have children and you're also having to teach them their lessons, because right now it's all about homeschooling and distance learning. But you know what? Even before the shelter-in-place order or the restrictions were given to us, one actress, she's a singer and a performer, Joan Amedelia, has been homeschooling her son for 7 years now. She started when he was 4 and now he's 11, and she's joining us to give us some tips, sharing some of her experiences that she's learned through the years about homeschooling. Thank you so much, Joan, for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're an accomplished actor and singer, but then you're also devoting your time at home, not just to be a mom, but also to be teacher to your son. But now it's even more timely because we're hearing the keywords homeschooling and distance learning. Let's first define the terms.
Distance learning is mostly plugged into a school.
Right.
The teachers, right now, what's happening is the teachers give the parents instructions on what to do, manuals of the breaking down of what needs to be done during the day. Parent, teacher, students, they meet through Zoom, Skype, or whatever virtual thing is available. When you say homeschooling, and we go to a homeschooling convention every year since my son was 4 years old, when you're around homeschool parents, they're really, and I don't say that regular kids who go to regular school, the parents are not involved. Of course they are. But homeschool parents are just a different breed. It's like, okay, they're after the character of the child. How does the child learn how to deal with bullying when it happens?
I think more and more parents now especially are appreciating how much work goes into homeschooling your own children.
What we're doing is traditional education, which actually is pretty much like in a classroom setting at home. And then we interact with each other. We have the curriculum that we picked, that we feel is best for us, is biblical based.
So Joan, can you give us your top 5 do's and don'ts for homeschooling parents out there? Practically every parent. Let's start with the don'ts.
Don't rush. Reading, potty training, math, whatever it is. Let it be an environment of I love learning for them, as opposed to you use school as a punishment. Number 2, do not compare your children with other children. Look at that child. They can read at 3 years old and you're already 5. Please don't do that. Number 3, don't be too submissive.
Don't be too weak. It's so hard to say no sometimes.
Right, because they will eventually get it, you know, that you're protecting them. Number 4, always communicate with your child. I cannot emphasize this enough. There's no such thing as over-communicating. Why? Because I love you and I have to take good care of you. Number 5, do not neglect your family prayer time. That is very important. Whatever belief you believe.
I love that. Okay, now we flip it to...
We flip it?
Yes, what do we
Pretty
do?
much like the opposite of what I just
Exactly.
So number 1 is prayer time as a family. And learn together.
Yes.
Library, grocery stores.
Not right now.
Well, not right now.
Not
You
right
can
now.
all go to Amazon together.
Right,
What
yes,
you need, what
yes.
you want for your snacks.
Right,
That
right.
gives responsibility. Like, I think I want that for my snack.
Basically be involved, right?
Let them be involved, yeah. 3 is learn when to be authoritative. When, I'm your playmate. This is circle time. You know, know when to say that. And I'm sure, like, all the time, but at the same time, find a way to let them feel loved. This is what I always call a stage manager, tough love.
Yes.
Like, calling all the actors, but they love you. You know, parents, like that, tough love. And then number 4, stay open. Now that I have an 11-year-old, he's starting to ask me questions about what happened in the Philippines. Why are, like, when we go to Filipino gatherings, what I'm forced to eat something I don't want to eat.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that. And
Yes.
I tell them, you actually make them feel good because they had you in mind
When they were preparing, yes.
for eating it.
Right,
You know, you
right.
made them feel special. And number 5 is we love to spend time together. My son now, we love to make him feel that, like, you know, that what he does at home matters to us. So his chores have been doing the dishwasher, you know, like
Right.
the filling up the
Right.
dish in the dishwasher. He throws the trash because it's like, why do I have to do that? Because everything that you do matters, and we have to contribute to our family.
Exactly.
So he also does our tea time.
Oh, awesome.
So
Yeah.
he heats the water, prepares the tea together, like for all our teas and
Oh, how cute.
tea, and we talk. Oh my gosh, my child can talk.
Right,
Forever,
right.
like listening to him, his
Exactly.
thoughts.
And you know, that's what I noticed too when you listen, like really active listening, not just like, it builds the child's confidence and they talk more
Right.
and they want to share more.
What's also involved in there is the kindness when you say, I cannot talk right now, but I promise you tonight I'm all ears.
Right.
You know? And they're
Right.
like, they never stop talking.
Exactly. Well, Joan, thank you so much. I think this has been most helpful.
Those really interested, you know, or are on the fence about homeschooling.
Yeah.
You can do it, moms. You can do it. I'm still here.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for now. Stay safe.
Yes, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Don't forget, guys, we have more for you on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/SoJannelle, where we post extended versions of our interviews. This interview with Joan, she gave us a lot more insight, a lot more tips, and you can only catch that on YouTube. www.youtube.com/SoJannelle, where we also premiere our shows on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific. Please join us then. Thank you for sharing your Mother's Day afternoon with us. Once again, maraming or maligayang araw po ng mga nanay for all the moms out there, not just the biological moms, but even stepmoms, mother figures, foster moms, adoptive moms, to all the mother figures, to all the moms in our lives, and all those who assume the role of moms. Maraming salamat and happy Mother's Day to all of you. Also, we're not just celebrating Mother's Day, we're also celebrating and commemorating all the nurses, especially critical at this time when we are trying to fight this global pandemic. A lot of the nurses are most of the nurses, all of them are on the front lines, making sacrifices and risking their lives to keep all of us safe, and we honor them today and every day, especially this week. It's May 6 to 12 is Nurses Week this year, and this is Right about now, we close out our show with another mom. She is the chairman of a small business called Lay Bear. They do hair removal, and she's had her business since 2006. She is a single mom to her daughter, who is now 17 years old. And in this segment, she's going to talk to us about her experience as a small business owner looking for funding and looking for grants at this time. You'll learn a lot, especially if you are a small business owner yourself. Watch this. Fiona, thank you so much for joining us today. I know a lot of small business owners are busy looking for funds, looking for money, looking for grants. And I know that what you did for Lay Bear. Let's first talk about your business. What is it, and what industry is it classified under?
So Lay Bear can be classified as a brick and mortar shop under retail. We can also fall under beauty and wellness and professional services.
How has it been? Can you take us through or give us a brief overview of how you navigated this Stimulus CARES Act?
First time I heard of the stimulus package and the CARES Act was through Anna Marie and the Chamber and CPAP. I'm also part of IFA. So they were on top of everything. I was attending webinars literally like several times a day. It was so hard at first because there were conflicting like rules and guidelines. But now, I can explain almost all of it to anyone in need.
Maybe viewers that are watching that still haven't applied, or at that time they weren't affected and now they are. Maybe they can learn from that. What was your experience like?
First, the EIDL and the PPP both come from the SBA. But with the EIDL, you have to apply through the SBA website directly. And they actually asked us to apply 2 times. One for the actual loan, which I did around March 18. And then they emailed me March 30 to apply for the advance, which was $10,000 grant or $1,000 per employee. The PPP, on the other hand, so originally I thought I had to go to like CDC and other, non-government agencies, and then it became available to banks. So on April 4, I was able to apply through Chase, which is my main bank. Then we lost through the first round because a lot of the, funds went to the bigger corporations. And then later they said that you can actually submit more than one application. That wasn't stated, the first round. So what I did, and Chase was the one who advised me to actually apply to other financial institutions, which I did. And they were actually non-banks. I applied 3 more times, and the 4th application I submitted was the one that got approved a week later.
And it's not just that. I know that you've also applied to some grants.
I actually applied to a total of 12 loans and grants. There's Red Backpack by Sarah Blakely. There's iFund Women, Facebook, and I won a webinar contest. I did apply for the real grant for like 5 or 10,000. I didn't get that, but they had a raffle in partnership with Wells Fargo. They gave out 25,000 total.
Congratulations! Now it seems like a tedious process, and I know that in this day and age there are rejection after rejection after rejection, but you kept going. So what now? Now that you have the funds, now that you have the grants, what's next? Because I also keep hearing this word, pivot.
Actually, we had to pivot long before we got our PPP. We had plans of selling our products online. And that was on my to-do list the past 3 years, and I was pressured to actually come up with a Shopify store, which I was able to build in 3 hours. So we've been selling online for a little over 2 weeks, and aside from Lay Bear retail products, we now sell masks and other COVID items like shields, etc. So that was the biggest pivot we had to do. And now that we have the PPP funds, we're fortunate to be able to keep everyone on payroll. So we never laid off anyone and never stopped paying them. So every pay period, we were still able to pay our employees, but not at 100%. So it's been really tough, and the PPP allowed us to make it easier for them.
And badly hit, of course, because this is like a salon. like a close contact is needed in order to perform the service, right? And I'm really happy that you got your funding and you got your grant. But message for small business owners like yourself, maybe watching, maybe they've been rejected so many times already, maybe they don't know where to go, what to do. What would be your message?
A lot of resources are available online, especially through your chamber. I went to On Deck, and it was the last application I did. They got back to me in less than 24 hours. A lot of people have messaged me. I always refer them because they were the quickest to really get back. So it's good to be connected with your local chamber too. They're really hands-on given this pandemic.
And I guess I will add to that, which is what you did. Don't give up.
Yes, just keep on applying. That was my new job. My situation is a little bit different than other small business owners because I've been struggling anyways the past 8 years, even before the pandemic. And I've been burdened with really expensive, hard money loans.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I couldn't get approved by the SBA. So with this leniency, they're more open to lending. I'm actually, getting a break, getting approved by it.
That's good. And I like that because I know that it sends a message out there too. It's a little bit in a way trying to turn this negative into something positive for you, correct?
And I was able to focus on other stuff like creating that online store that I never had the time to do.
Right.
So lockdown has actually been good, more or less overall for the brand.
We hope you got a lot of information today, but we're not stopping there. Please catch our extended versions of all these interviews plus our premiere on YouTube, youtube.com/SoJannelle, where you can catch our premieres commercial free every Wednesday at 8 p.m. When we do the premiere on Wednesdays, we actually have our guests join us, so you can interact with them if you have any questions, if you have any comments. So make sure you catch us every Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Also, keep our weekly dates here on TV. Next week, same time, same channel. I'm your host, Jannelle So, and this has been So Jannelle.